Hello friends, happy Sunday evening as you can see. I hope you've had a nice weekend that has had some weekendy aspects about it. The reason this video is going up on Sunday is the Taming of the Shrew, which is what I will begin on Monday. I'm actually beginning tonight because as well as having 5 acts, it also has an induction stuck at the front of it. 2 scenes that make the Taming of the Shrew a play within a play, and we never hear from the characters watching the play again. Apart from, well, in this version, at the end, it has a couple of extra scenes where they interrupt the play and talk about it, but I'm not going to play those, partly because they weren't published, and partly because it's so weird, I'd rather it just melted away and let it Taming the Shrew happen. There is also music called for at one point in this scene, so if you want to pause the video now to go and look out a nice bit of music to play. Again, I will cue that, and then I think it keeps playing until the end of the scene, which isn't very long. So yes, here are some voices I've had to come up with for characters who never appear again, partly because I've decided they melt away. Ta-da! Which one to use? Which one to use? Hello, friends. Happy new week. Happy Monday. Now, I record these introductions after I finish doing the reading, so I can tell you there's a lot of cuts coming up. Not to the text, but just a lot of editing, because there's a lot of voices and I kept doing the wrong one, because there's a lot of characters, which also means there's a lot of people explaining the plot to each other. Drink responsibly, but if you wanted to play a drinking game, why not take a drink every time someone explains the plot? I said last night that Christopher Sly from the induction never turns up again. Actually, they all turn up at the end of Act 1, as Christopher Sly has clearly fallen asleep, which is a brave decision by the author. I don't know if we'll see them again. Anyway, it's the Taming of the Shrew. A very different style to the Two Gentlemen of Verona. You'd think it's more boisterous. Actually, there's far more classical references in this. So many classical references. I'll tell you one. Xanthippe was Socrates' wife, whom he married because she was very good at arguing. This is the Taming of the Shrew, people. Enjoy. That enjoy didn't sound very sincere. Enjoy! Ta-da! Hello, friends. Happy Tuesday. Continuing with Act 2 of The Taming of the Shrew. The story so far. Petruchio wants to marry someone rich. Catherine is such a woman, but no one else wants to marry her because she is incredibly angry and violent. She has a sister who everyone does want to marry, Bianca, but her father, Baptista, has said no one can marry Bianca until Catherine is married. So they've all decided to give Petruchio money to fund his wooing of Katharina. Bianca's suitors are Hortensio, Petruchio's friend, who Petruchio is presenting to Baptista as a teacher, so Hortensio can make his way into Bianca's, and he says make love to her, but I think that just means sort of talk nicely to her and try and court her rather than actually have sex with her. Another suitor is Lucentio, who has just turned up and immediately fallen in love with Bianca, and who has now got his servant Tranio to pretend to be Lucentio to cause a distraction while he himself is disguised as another schoolmaster, so he can wheedle his way into Bianca's affections. There's an old rich man called Gremio, and not to be confused with Petruchio's servant Grumio. Thanks, Shakespeare. No, I think that is it. Ta-da! Hello, friends. Happy Wednesday, and welcome to Behind the Scenes. I've put some stuff in my hair. Hopefully it shouldn't fall around so much now. And now on with Act 3 of The Taming of the Shrew. There is a music cue in here. It's party music this time. It need not be tasteful, so if you want to look out a track to play, I'll cue that. There's a scene with Hortensio playing a lute. I'm using some Foley. That's not the music I mean. And I think it plays until the very end of the act. The story so far. As you know, Lucentio and Hortensio are both disguised as tutors to sneak into Bianca and have access to Bianca, with whom they are both basically, I think, in love. Her sister Catherine has been won by Petruchio. Whether Catherine herself consents to this is seen as a little bit immaterial. And there are other people. That's pretty much it. There are loads of other people. Thank you very much. There's Biondello, who... Here's what's interesting. Baptista, the father, seems to have really... Oh! Let me look at my notes. Can you read this? I can't read this. Lucentio's servant Tranio is passing himself off as Lucentio, and in this act really seems to have become friendly with the father of both daughters, Baptista. I think also he's meant to have vouched for Petruchio. Biondello is the servant of Lucentio, who I guess is posing as the servant of Tranio as Lucentio, but everyone just seems to know each other now and be hanging around and chatting. I apologise as well for how not done in one take all of this is. I hope you can follow it. Well, let's see. Ta-da! Hello, friends. Happy Thursday. And we continue with the massive Act 4 of The Taming of the Shrew, for which I will be using the sound machine. Also, yesterday I put some stuff in my hair to stop it moving around. I haven't washed that off yet, so sorry for the state of me. Also, sorry as ever for how roughly cut together the whole thing is. The story so far: Petruchio has married Catherine. Petruchio's friend Hortensio has decided to give up his pursuit of Catherine's sister Bianca after seeing how well she was getting on with her tutor, who is actually Lucentio in disguise. Lucentio's servant Tranio is pretending to be Lucentio to create a distraction. However, now Tranio must find someone to pretend to be Lucentio's father, Vincentio, in order to arrange a dowry with Bianca's father, Baptista. Assisting them is Lucentio's other servant, Biondello. And if all that seems too much to keep track of, don't worry, because today we also see the introduction of Curtis, Nathaniel, Philip, Joseph, Peter, a haberdasher, a tailor, a pedant, which here means schoolmaster, although schoolmastering doesn't really come into it, and another character whose identity will remain a secret until the end of the act. So enjoy. Ta-da! Stay in place. Stay in place. It's not going to happen. Maybe I should get a haircut. Hello, friends. Happy Friday. This is what happens when I lean on the desk. And also, for the wedding banquet, I decide to drink from water, which is equally noisy. Now I know that I've made the edit, so I'm actually making this post-edit introduction to apologise for all the extra noises and clumps. I'm really sorry about that. And also, I'm always sorry, well, particularly in Taming the Shrew, for just how many cuts there are, how few long takes. But there's lots of people, so, you know. The story so far, really? A few reminders. Lucentio and Bianca are now about to get married. Lucentio's servant Tranio has been disguised as Lucentio to keep Bianca's father Baptista busy, but now he has to find someone to pretend to be Lucentio's father, Vincentio, because they want to arrange a dowry. He's done that, but the real Vincentio has just turned up in the company of Petruchio and Catherine, Bianca's sister, and I think that pretty much brings you up to date. I won't say anything else about this act. There's a lot to say about it. Excuse me while I make another noise. Anyway, enjoy the final act of The Taming of the Shrew. A very different play to Two Gentlemen of Verona. Ta-da! It's complicated. And that's The Taming of the Shrew. That's all of it. Act 1, where it begins, I will stick there. I think that's how it works. Yeah, I'll do that. And then up there, I will stick what I'm reading next week. Chronologically, it should be what turned into part 2 of a massive historical epic. I'm going to read that all as one, and so next week I'll be doing the play that was written in the middle of that, a tragedy, Titus Andronicus. If you want to leave tips, there's a tip jar below. Thank you very much for watching. Thank you for any of your comments. Thank you for liking. And for you, well, I hope you're all doing tremendously still. Goodbye. Have a great weekend.